Guys, I've spent a lot of time in Path of Exile 2 this past week. It's been a good game, man. I've enjoyed it. I see some flaws, but I've enjoyed it. And let me just say, this is also coming from the perspective of someone who's completely new to Path of Exile. About the most I know about Path of Exile was what we watched from that developer live stream, which, let me be frank, is one of the best dev streams I have ever seen. The fact that we had a dev stream, like a Vidoc, if you will, that was well over an hour long, you could tell just the wealth of knowledge from the director and other folks in that stream or in that video that was being on display there over that long stretch of a video. And for someone like me, that was actually what pulled me in and said, hey, I needed to give this game a go. With that being said, though, I've had a number of people come by stream and ask, Cross, should I play this game? Should this be a game I get for the holidays? And my answer to them is, do you have any plans on seeing any family over the holidays? Because if you do, don't get Path of Exile. Seriously, I have dropped off the face of the earth. I saw sunlight for the first time yesterday. I have woken up. I've immediately played this game. Every time I got off, it was in the dead of night. Most of the times, like 1, 2 a.m. in the morning. Yesterday was the first time I saw sunlight, and I just stood out in it. I mean, it's like that. That's how this game is, guys. It's that addicting. And I know that's a great quality of a game, but what I'm trying to say is that maybe you want to, kind of just ease yourself in. I'm not the kind of person that does a good job of that. I normally goes balls deep as quickly as I can. And this is a game that allows you to go as deep as you want. And what you will soon find out as you continue to play Path of Exile, especially once you get into Endgame, is that depth is incredible. The builds that you can come across are extremely lethal, but it's also not as lethal as you may think. What may work for you in the early portions of the campaign, or even in the cruel difficulty mode of the campaign, you'll soon find that your build gets humbled very quickly in Endgame. And Endgame is such a strange thing because right now I'm level 81 and we were actually doing like XP farming this past weekend. And while we were XP farming, we were doing like tier 14s, tier 15s. And man, there's just so many times you'll be fine. You'll be killing mobs, right? You'll be doing your thing. And then you step off into like a puddle of nothing because you can't see crap out there because everybody's shooting spells left and right. Sorcerers, you drive me crazy. But you step off in a puddle and you instantly die. I'd say that's the biggest complaint I have right now with Path of Exile. And I know like my Path of Exile players are like, dude, that's just how it is. You got to up your elemental resistance. It's like, all right, fine. Okay, I'm working on it. But let's just be frank. And the higher tiers, dude, you step off into like a little puddle of something, or something poison or bleed affects you, man, it can just immediately shred you, and there's really nothing you can do about it. And keep in mind, when you die in in-game inside of Path of Exile, you lose 10% of your XP. And so you could perpetually stay the same level forever. And if you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to go farm up like low level ads, well, get ready to be there for the next 2 days, because that's how long it's going to potentially take you to get that next level. It gets really grindy, guys. Really, really grindy. And I know my Path of Exile players, at least from what y'all have told me, this is how you like it. Look, I'm all about hard. But let's talk about this game, guys. This game has a wealth of different classes that you can choose from, all with different play styles, and all that, in my opinion, every one of them has the potential to be extremely lethal. What you may play with in the beginning, you may think is weak, but as you continue to go on and progress, you'll build it out. Warrior is actually my class. I had a situation there where I was like, Warrior's not that good. Turns out Warrior's fantastic. I just wasn't building into it correctly. And, this is when we lean on, our build crafters and whatnot out there. Now, build crafting this game can be a little costly because when it comes to resetting passives, man, it can get expensive very fast. And when you look at that skill tree, that is a daunting skill tree to look at. My Lord, look at all the options. I've actually had people come by the stream and say, this tree is too much. I don't want to play this game because of this tree. It's not as daunting as you may think, because there's like actual like lanes of like, okay, is your class Merc? Are you Warrior? Are you Sorcerer? You want to kind of like stay within those lanes, but it's all just kind of, all together in one thing. What's so beautiful about the skill tree inside of Path of Exile, and I'm assuming Path of Exile 1 was like this, is that you can go in whatever direction you want. If you want to kit out something that may be on quote unquote the Sorcerer's class, but you want to throw it on Warrior, you can. And even further than that, and this is where my mind was so blown yesterday when talking to one of the higher level players that's in my guild, Carmelo. One of the things that was told to me is that you can actually craft a skill on a skill tree and then place it in something like an amulet, which is nuts. If you've got like that skill on the opposite end of the skill tree and you're like, dude, there's no way I'm gonna have enough points to get to that point, dude, you can actually craft it. Yeah, with deliriums, you can get that distilled whatever. By the way, isolation, overpriced. I've seen the prices for that, dude. That's and we're gonna talk about trading in just a moment. But you can craft it. If you can get the resources for it, you can actually craft it, and you could throw that in. So that's some of the things with build crafting, guys. And I know I'm just barely touching up on build crafting now and what works for build crafting. But as I continue to push further into in-game, what I'm really trying to say is like it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. So whatever class you may pick up, whether it's sorcerer, warrior, merc, witch, whatever, like whatever you may pick up, if you think that class is not that good, you'd be surprised. There's a build right around the corner that's going to make it really, really good. At the same time, right around the next corner is going to be some content that's going to humble you very quickly. And that's most notably with maps. Now, this is early access mode. We've got access to 6 classes. We've also got access to 2 ascensions per class. Think of these as like subclasses within each one of those classes. And these subclasses, they lock you in. You can't choose a different ascension once you've chosen one. And so this is a big decision. And honestly, I kind of wish I could go back and forth between the two because it'd be nice to like dabble, but I get kind of why they're at least taking this approach. Y'all tell me if Path of Exile 1 was like this. I'm not sure, but it can not necessarily punishing, but like if you're like, oh man, there's this really dope build because we came across a really cool build for warrior, but I realized I didn't have that ascension. The Totem Boy Ascension build was not applicable to me because I'm on Titan. And so in order for me to actually play with that Ascension, I would then need to start a whole new character, level up again with warrior, make it to that Ascension. We'll see how it is in the future. Granted, Path of Exile is known for being super hardcore, and that's what it's supposed to be. But as far as like what you can do in early access, you got access to 3 acts 1 through 3. Then you'll do acts 1 through 3 again that are in cruel difficulty. So think of this as like for my Destiny players, like a legendary difficulty mode. And then you have maps. Maps are essentially the in-game portion where you have your own hideout. This is like your own social hub, right? And you can kit it out however way you want. And what's so beautiful about this is like, this seems to be endless. When I say endless, like literally what I mean there, the in-game seems to be endless. And you essentially just kind of keep working your way up node by node in maps to unlock more areas. You hit these towers to keep pushing forward. And what you want to do is you have these like waystones, and these waystones that you can augment and add modifiers to make the monsters and increase the drop chances of things on the maps. And this helps you substantially, especially when you have things that can increase your XP. We were actually hunting people in the stream yesterday who had like 300%, 400%. We had somebody with a 500% boost to XP. And when I say a 500% boost, I mean it, fellas. You can go up like 2-3 levels in a single run there on maps within a single node because of that boost. And that's a beautiful thing, man. And that's something I've never seen in another game. So yes, is it grinding? Sure. But if you find a way to take advantage of the mechanics, it can go a long way for you, man. And I wouldn't say you're necessarily going to breeze through, the 80s and into the 90s or anything like that. But, you definitely want to lean into the mechanics because you reach a certain threshold where the game kind of hits you with a brick wall and says, hey, you got to start leaning on the mechanics here if you're looking to progress. As far as like the things that really stand out to me about Path of Exile, I was really impressed that you can actually have a 6-man team. I was expecting like maybe 3, potentially just 4 at most, but 6, I mean, for a Destiny player, that's like a raid squad, right? But yeah, you can have a full-blown team going into it, and it's chaotic. You've got 6 people there running around. You don't know what spells are friendly or enemy spells, and things are just going all over the place. But I love it because I think ad density must be getting increased. I'm pretty sure that's the case. I know health pools also go up. The difficulty goes up, but that also means drops go up, right? Drops go up. I want to say XP probably goes up a little bit. I actually prefer, I know a lot of people play solo when they play Path of Exile, and I like playing solo too, but playing with friends is like really, really fun to me. And the co-op experience, outside of a couple of network issues there on day one, it's been really smooth. Like it's been a lot of fun. And I think the co-op experience has been my favorite part of Path of Exile so far. Is just running around with people. We actually take eggplant bets all the time. It's like, who's gonna die first in the squad? And as a warrior main, I literally just sit there and hide behind my shield, and I try to stay alive the longest. But it's really, really fun in the co-op experience. And I would say whether you're playing with a full squad of 6 or just with a couple of your friends, that's great. And you guys can actually like get on the same quest line, progress through the campaign. And what makes in-game so interesting is like, you have your version of maps and your friend has their version of maps. And so like whatever nodes you unlock, whatever modifiers you come across, maybe you have an XP booster. They can come and actually jump into your squad and do that node with you, get the XP boost. And then if they have a similar node, or maybe like increased drop chances, or an increase of rare monsters or whatever, you can go jump in their node and do it with them. I just really love the ability to go back and forth. So like, if you find that your in-game or world maps for you playing solo becomes stale, I'm telling you guys, play co-op. It's really, really good. I've really enjoyed that aspect of Path of Exile. So far, guys, I'm going to continue playing this game. It's in early access for the next 6 months. I've been impressed with it. I've enjoyed it. I've lost my life to it. There's not too many games that within the first week we've got, well over 100 hours into. It's just that kind of game. It pulls you in. Some games that I kind of throw in the category of like time travel. This is one of those games. It's like a time travel type game where you're like, I'm just going to play for 30 minutes. And then you look up and it's like, it's been 3-4 hours. And that's exactly what Path of Exile 2 could do to you. As far as the campaign experience, I don't really have a lot to compare here outside of maybe Diablo. I do think Diablo has really, really good cutscenes. That's just what they're known for. But I think Path of Exile 2 has a fantastic campaign. And even for like the parts that people were like complaining about where the maps are really long and or too big or whatever, I actually liked it. Like I love where like we would be like exploring an entire area in like Act 3 and it's like, is this gonna keep going? And it's like, yeah, it keeps going. It's that big. And I actually enjoyed that aspect of it. And I know that is a common complaint, but I think all the acts were done really, really well. What I will say, something that has been the most standout thing about Path of Exile 2 so far has been its music. I don't know who did the music, but the music in that game is literally the best music I think I've ever heard, maybe ever. Just like, I normally, like in every game I play, I'll listen to the music in my first run through, maybe my second or third, but eventually I have my own playlist of music. We turn that on, we turn down music in the game, and we just jam out, right? This is one of the only games where I leave on in-game music the entire time, and it's just that good. It's really, really done well. I love the change-ups, the vibes, even when you're just chilling in your hideout as well. It's really good. So the music there is fantastic. S2 for sure. Now, one aspect of Path of Exile that I found to be very interesting is that they have trading, like full-blown trading. Like you could trade items with other people. Matter of fact, you have a guild system. And again, kind of leaning into the co-op features that I love so much. We have an entire guild. We've completely bloated it out and, did all the things, bought the stashes. We've got, different levels, different rankings, different, members and stuff like that. And I really love the guild system. And this also kind of plays into like trading as well, because if you're in a situation where you've got new players, like we have new players that join our guild, if they want to get some items, like some good starter items, we place them into the guild stash and they can go pick them up, which I think is amazing. This is like a way of like onboarding your friend and being like, hey, let me just give you some really dope stuff. Maybe you're not at the level to wear these items yet, but you'll eventually be at that point, and they're going to make a huge difference for you. Granted, you don't want to give them everything, right? You want them to work for it, earn their way up. I think this helps with your own co-op experience. Maybe you want to join up on them, but I love that they freely allow for trade outside of, I believe, gold. I don't think gold you could trade, but everything else is tradable. And actually, we were on a website, it was Path of Exile 2's website, and we had people come on the stream saying we were cheating for doing this. And we were trading for items. We were trading exalted orbs for different rare items. And it was like, dude, this is not cheating. This is literally on their website. Like Path of Exile wants you to do this. They literally facilitate all of this. And I love that they have it in game, because like when you go to the website, you click the item you want, you could do the filter menu, and then it shows the item. It shows how much people are charging for it. And then you click a button to directly whisper them. And then, dude, the transaction is so fast. I mean, you get an invite to their party, you join up on them, or they join up on you, you issue the trade, you make sure it's the right item, and you're good, dude. And that's amazing to me. And I'm sure there's going to be like some levels of real world trading. I think right now they're saying that exalted orbs are going for about $30 a piece. That's going to happen. And anytime you have any level of trading in any game, especially MMOs, that is going to happen, dude. But honestly, you take that little bit of bad with the good. And right now, I really enjoy the trading, because this allowed me to pick up really good items getting into in-game. And I've enjoyed that aspect, because there's been so many games that have kind of leaned away from trading. And I'm not sure if Path of Exile 1 had trading or not, but as far as it being a feature in Path of Exile 2, I like it. So overall, guys, I've enjoyed Path of Exile 2. I'm definitely not like the best player by no means. We've made it to in-game. I'm level 81, but there's so much. Like what you come to find as you get later into the end game is that the min-maxing in this game is endless. And the same feeling that you felt the moment you opened up Path of Exile and looked at that skill tree where you're like, I'm overwhelmed. That can kind of creep back up in the end game too, because you're just like, man, the things I need to do to survive these higher tiers, right? Like the min-maxing, the dedication, like you already, because maybe you're like 60, 70, 80, close to 100 hours deep into the game. You're already like putting in your mind, how many hours is it going to take for me to get to that perfect build? I'm going to say potentially thousands. And I mean, it's kind of a guess out there, but like when we're talking about, like I said, taking certain skills and throwing it on your amulets, you know, we're not even talking about uniques yet. I'm not even including the fact that you have so many different types of builds that can take advantage of certain uniques. When we start including uniques into this conversation, then we're talking potentially thousands of hours for min-maxing, man, for endgame. And personally, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to play another character. I think I may just do it just to dabble, but like I don't feel comfortable leaving warrior yet until I have like completely solidified warrior and like, all right, he has the ability to handle the entire game, start to finish, everything in endgame, the most cracked, augmented waystones, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's a possibility. I've seen certain builds, like I've seen a witch build from Carmelo where he almost seemed unkillable and he just had this army of undead just killing everything. And he seemed like the most I've ever seen him take damage was, you know, he stays at half health because of whatever build he has going on, but he dropped down to maybe a quarter health. But for the most part, he was always good. He never died in the entire time we played. And we were playing some very like high tier maps there and he was good the entire time. So maybe it depends on certain builds, but as far as warrior right now, for me, I don't feel like I've beaten the game. And to be quite frank, guys, I don't know if I'm going to feel like I've beaten the game for a very long time. And I don't know, maybe my other Path of Exile players can tell me, do you feel like you ever reach a point where you've beaten the game? I felt like when I played Diablo, I was like, yeah, I've beaten the game. Like I've gotten it. We had our bone build with Necro. We were destroying everything. You would walk into a room, you shoot one time and everything would just die. I would say there's something equivalent to that for every build inside of Path of Exile, but Path of Exile is a lot more hardcore than Diablo, like substantially so. And you could just tell, just take the tree from Diablo and then take the tree from Path of Exile, right? You've got a lot more happening here in Path of Exile. But as far as like the feeling of like, have I completed this or do I see the end on the horizon? Do I feel comfortable yet to take on the hardest content? We're not there. And to be quite frank, I don't know if I'm going to do everything I can to get there. We're still refining our builds. And that's kind of like part of the reason why like Path of Exile is so addicting. I get it, but I'm really curious to know if like my veteran players, if you ever reach that point where you're like, dude, I got this. Like I am full. I'm dominating everything. I am the most powerful thing inside of Path of Exile. But yeah, so far, guys, it's been a great experience, man. I've enjoyed it. If you value your free time, if you're looking to see family, maybe you grow over the holidays, don't get this game. But if you want to be a degenerate from now until however long it takes for you to reach that point of success that I'm trying to reach, yeah, man, go right ahead. And again, it all comes down to like time management. I'm the worst when it comes to time management, but so far this has been an incredible game. I'm glad you guys have put me on it, man. And to the Path of Exile community, y'all have been great. I've got a lot of Destiny players that are like dipping their toes for the first time into this one, myself included. And it's been a very enjoyable experience. Thank you guys for coming and watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.